Okay, good morning everyone. This is Servium calling. My name is Steve Dawes and I'm the Services Director here at Servium. Welcome to Season 4 of our INOOT, I Need One of Those webinar series. Thank you for taking the time to join us today. INOOT really focuses on the sort of technical trends to look out for, new and disruptive and innovative technology from the leading vendors that we believe can address all the business challenges that you're probably facing. So Season 4 is a mini-series and we're sort of discussing how the new way of working impacts on your security posture and how best practice is to work on the basis that a data breach is probably inevitable. So today we're joined by RSA, and it's really a sort of an episode exploring identity and access management. So there's two gentlemen I'd like to introduce today, and that's Dean Flynn, who's our solutions architect. Morning, Dean.
Good morning, Steve.
Dean's recently joined us to help us and you, our customers, take you on journeys, whether it's into the cloud, migrating your data centers, working with his vast range of knowledge around the whole IT infrastructure. And also Z Say from RSA. Good morning, Z.
Morning everyone.
Z's our subject matter expert today, and you could say he's going to talk a little bit around sort of the remote working and so on and so forth. So, as usual, we're using Zoom to deliver the webinar, and we will be taking a recording of this that we'll share with you later on. There'll be an opportunity to ask questions and answers at the end anonymously, as well as taking a poll. And right at the end, we do have our prize draw as well, as a way of saying thank you for attending. So that's sort of setting the scene for today, but I always like to look back in history a little bit to see what happened on this day. So 16th of October 1923, the Disney brothers founded their cartoon studio. 1959, this is from my era, Gary Kemp from Spandau Ballet was born in London. 1967, Davina McCall, the British TV presenter, was also born. Who can remember back to 1987, the Great Storm, and the BBC weather presenter Michael Fish, who got his forecast wrong about a hurricane that he didn't believe was going to happen. It was record 120 mile an hour winds that battered the south of England. It killed 18 people, unfortunately. One of the worst storms in living memory. Also felled about 15 million trees, and after that, Seven Oaks in Kent was no more. In 1996, the British government announced plans to outlaw most handguns following the Dunblane massacre early in that year. So that's a little look back in history, but more importantly, today is all about INOOT. So a little bit of background, Servium, and it's like I say, the rationale behind these this whole series is to help you as our customers understand technology and help you make decisions, educated, informative decisions. We provide that through our account management team. We provide excellent customer service, and we put ourselves in your shoes, and we really like to understand the challenges. And by doing that, we put you at the center of everything we do, working through the complete life cycle of a project, no matter how large, how small. More importantly for me, at the end of it, is we review every project we deliver. Has it been delivered on time, effectively, and within budget? And we do that by working with our partners, the likes of RSA and other leading vendors, and working with our service ecosystem to deliver a complete breadth and depth of services to you, our customers. So our approach very much is transparency when we partner. We're not doing anything unique in the marketplace, so transparency is absolutely key. So when we come to you and work with you on a project, we'll tell you who we're working with and why, because of the specific subject matter expertise. And with our ecosystem, during the last 6 months, we've helped a lot of our customers deliver a number of major projects To give you some examples, we've worked with a leading architect delivering an SD-WAN, which is now going global, and the challenges of that during lockdown. For a global health chemical firm, we've delivered a Teams implementation to help them with a collaboration and done an Active Directory and a tenant migration. For a famous fast food chain, they wanted to get devices out to their users, so we've worked with HP and delivered a device as a service project. For a major food manufacturer, they wanted to put their backup into Azure, so we've helped move their backup into Azure and backup and DR strategy. And more recently, for a private health company that's doing a lot of virtual consultations, we've helped deliver a major collaboration project. So again, some examples there of how we've helped our customers during the pandemic, and we continue to do so moving forward. So when we look at our Pathfinder, today we're very much focused around security. So again, it's, like I say, it's really, really important area that we focus on. And it's something that, as part of this mini-series, you'll see a thread there. So what I'm going to do now is hand over to Dean, who's going to really frame the session today and just talk a little bit about what we're looking to achieve. So Dean, I'll hand over to you.
Thanks for that, Steve. So in terms of what I'm looking to do here, as Steve suggested, it's to frame what we're discussing today. Thinking back to the Pathfinder that we've just been looking at, it's making sure that we're not losing sight of where identity and access management sits within security, but also within wider IT infrastructure. Everything is intrinsically linked, and everything that we're talking about is related to something else. There are consequences to making changes to your infrastructure, and from Servium's perspective, my role is to tie that all together to get a real understanding of your business, your organization, and whether a particular technology is right for you. So this series, what we're looking to do, we've got a thread through it where we've been listening to what you guys have been telling us around what's of interest, listening to our peers and our vendors and partners to understand what the hot topics are of the moment. And this really is the start of a journey. So what I would encourage you to do is to absorb what we're talking about today, but think of it in the context of your infrastructure. And of course, I'd encourage you to attend the rest of the INOOTs in the series if you possibly can, or sponsor an appropriate contact within your organization and encourage them to come along. So why are we here and why are we talking about identity and access management? We actually conducted a recent survey, and security was identified, not quite overwhelmingly, but it was at the top of the pile in terms of being the single greatest area of interest for our customer base. So of course, because we listen, we thought we'd put it front and center in this mini-series we're conducting. It also makes sense thematically when we think about the thread that's running through the series. So this year is, of course, a very, very interesting one that I think we'll all remember. And the fact of the matter is that it has highlighted some concerns, it's thrown up some challenges, and things will never be the same again. I think it's fair to say. This shift to remote working, flexible working, has absolutely increased risk to organizations. If I quickly run through some of them, remote access via unsecured networks, wholesale shift to laptops, enablement of bring your own device, increased prevalence of shadow IT as we chase enablement as opposed to sort of keeping a handle on our fundamentals. A movement to SaaS presents challenges. And one that's sometimes overlooked a little bit, relaxation of personal responsibility when people are moving away from an office environment. intrinsically, when we travel to an office, we're on our best behavior, at least most of us are. And sometimes when we're at home, potentially not in a state of full dress, that can lapse somewhat. And certainly our ability to control and keep track of that is lessened. Pressure from organizations to enable quickly has come at the expense of best practice. That's something that isn't just anecdotal. We've seen at Servium, there was a focus on endpoint in the opening months of lockdown, purchase of laptops, headsets, an increase in Zoom licenses and Teams enablement. So any time that a project is executed at speed because of need, we do see that there's a trend that best practice isn't always implemented, and you're on the back foot in many cases. What we've also begun to hear, and I think we all sort of still pray for a vaccine, and that the end is nigh, not literally in the apocalyptic sense, but that the end is nigh for COVID. But what this period has shone a light on, it spotlighted and accelerated in many cases the adoption of flexible working, or the idea of flexible working. So this disaster recovery mode is becoming the new normal. Lots of organizations that we speak to are talking in terms of not knowing exactly when people will return to office working, and actually starting to understand that the potentially flexible and remote working is going to become an increased part of the mix, or at least an option for employees. So we're starting with identity and access management in the context of security, and your approach to security, because it is the first line of defense. If you leave the front door open, you should expect to be exploited. This is a complex slide, and if your screen is a little bit small, or you've got it in a smaller window, please don't worry about this. This is more to demonstrate that we're talking about a fraction of what security looks like as a holistic and ongoing endeavor. We're talking about some of the elements that are in the top left of this rather complex diagram. But what this demonstrates is that we should come away from this INOOT with lots of questions, but also I want to encourage you to get in touch with your Servium account manager, to see myself and the team as a resource to try to get a handle on what security posture looks like, and maybe have a conversation around some of these other elements. Well, essentially, identity access management is one part of this, and your overall security posture does require selective application of budget in favor of the greatest areas of exposure. Identity and access management is in the spotlight at the moment. So increasingly what we're seeing is that more budget and more attention is being placed and put toward that area. But that's not to say that your budget should all be in one pot. It's all about treating this as a holistic endeavor. And that will be different dependent on the organization and dependent on your use case. Okay, the final thing I wanted to mention is that this slide actually only represents the security part of our Pathfinder. That thread I've mentioned leads directly into a conversation we'll be having in a couple of weeks' time around that presumption that you will be breached at some point. So the next INOOT will be looking at your recovery strategy, backups, and what best practice looks like in that space. Steve's going to touch on that in a little bit more detail toward the end of this webinar. Okay, without further ado, I'd like to hand over to Z to go into a bit more detail around RSA's offerings in the area of identity and access management.
Thanks so much for that. Good morning, all. My name is Z. I work in pre-sales for RSA Security. I've been with RSA for about 3.5 years. So I specialize in identity. So security access happens to fall under that. Today, I'll be giving you an overview of the security access solution. And then hopefully that will enable you to have a better insight into how the solution works. Okay. So with RSA Security, we've been around for quite some time. So, it's a good company to choose RSA, especially when it comes to access management. We have a huge customer portfolio. No one knows this space better than us. We specialize in security. We have a gold standard solution because our focus is security and it's what we do. We're constantly evolving and innovating, bringing new things to our portfolio, as you will see in the presentation. So we have not remained stagnant. We've continuously added new things to our portfolio to remain competitive. So we talk to a lot of our customers, understanding their challenges and trying to meet those challenges by introducing new solutions. Okay. So the RSA portfolio is quite a large one. We try to provide products and services which are core building blocks for helping organizations to manage digital risk. So you can see we have quite a few solutions here. So, the Archer suite, which is the first one. So this is an integrated risk management solution, which provides a single configurable platform for managing multiple dimensions of risk and driving accountability. I won't spend too long on these. So the next one is the RSA Net Witness platform, which is an evolved SIEM, so Security Information Event Management platform that offers a unified approach to understand risk variables across your entire digital ecosystem. And then, moving to my most favorable one, the RSA SECURID suite. So this provides identity and access assurance by taking a risk-based approach, so combining identity insights and threat intelligence to prioritize critical access decisions based on business context and the level of risk. The Fraud, Risk and Intelligence suite. This enables organizations to protect their consumer digital journey by securing interactions and transactions between organizations. And lastly, the RSA Risk and Cybersecurity practice. So this offers a range of strategic services designed to help customers to develop a business-driven security posture. So that's for our services. So those are all our products which are part of our portfolio. Digital transformation is arguably the most talked about topic in this day and age, and this has sort of been fast-tracked by the COVID crisis. So every organization is assessing their digital risk, and our products are aimed to help you to build towards having a secure posture in your security environment. Okay. The RSA SECURID solution has been around for more than 25 years. So it was always referred to as the two-factor solution, which allowed you to be able to secure remote access connections. 9 times out of 10, if anybody talked to you about SECURID, you would envision the hardware token, which is about the size of a USB. That's what you'd be thinking of in your mind. That's what we were known for. We've been around for quite some time. It was, it's known as the gold standard of authentication, the hardware token. Everybody has come across one. Even if they didn't have one, they may know someone who's had one. So we would protect remote access VPNs or protecting desktops, allowing users to log in using two-factor authentication. Users would log in with a username and a passcode. The passcode would be made up of the OTP, which would be on the hardware token, combined with their PIN, would form a passcode, which they would log into those protected resources. However, the purpose of today is to let you know and let you see that we have evolved. So we've introduced advanced advanced authentication options to our solution. So it's not just about hardware tokens anymore. We've introduced device biometrics. So you can scan your fingerprint, you can use facial recognition, you can even use things like smartwatches, Samsung Gear, Apple Watches. You can even log in with push to approve. So we've introduced advanced authentication options to allow our users to have a more convenient experience, but a secure one as well when they're logging into resources. I mentioned digital transformation, and one of the pillars of digital transformation is workforce transformation. So where and how people do their jobs is currently going through the biggest change in history. Many employees across many organizations, they want to log in and use the latest and greatest technology. Nobody wants to be using hardware tokens as much nowadays. People want to be logging in with their facial recognition, push to approve. So we try to take the advice of many of our customers to try and ensure that we're innovating solutions that are going to be competitive and going to be loved by our customers. You can also see from the slide that we work with some well-known vendors out there. So some well-known vendors out there. I'll talk more about that as we go through some of my next slides. So this is actually one of my favorite slides to show, as it gives you a full overview into the solution. On the top left, so as I mentioned, the authentication options that come with the solution. So it's not just hardware tokens. So, push to approve, mobile one-time passcodes, biometrics, which is talked about. We also have an SMS and voice option. Essentially, that's when a user will receive an OTP via text or email. We have software tokens, hardware tokens. We also support FIDO UTF compliant devices. So as of March this year, we also started selling the YUBIKEY. So that's now RSA branded as well. So we sell that as part of our authentication portfolio. So that's also available for customers. So you've got quite a variety of authentication options to choose from. On the top right, where it says conditional access and risk-based assurance. So this is where we have something we call the risk engine. So I talked about the fraud, risk, and intelligence solution at the start of the presentation. This solution is used in some of the major banks in the world. So the risk engine is known as the baby brother of the fraud, risk, and intelligence solution. So the risk engine applies machine learning and behavioral analytics. So this is where we're contextualizing user sessions. So we're not just looking at, the username or the password of the user. We're looking at the browser. We're looking at, the location they're logging in from. We're looking, are they an executive? Are they a normal employee? What location are they logging in from? Are they logging in from a different country? Is this part of their normal behavior? Are they logging in from, a different location? Should they be challenged? So it takes all these variables into account. It looks at more than 120 attributes. And whenever a user behaves differently, so for example, I have one of my colleagues, his name is Ian. Ian logs in from the office every day. But let's say, for example, Ian decides to, one day he's going to log in from the chippy down the road. That's not part of his normal behavior. He's logging in from a different location. So what will happen is the system will pick this up and it will challenge Ian with step-up authentication because it's deemed where he's logging in from risky because it's not part of his normal behavior. And then Ian would have to log in with one of the authentication options, which would have been set by the administrator. So the solution is fully flexible. We allow you to be able to drive how users log in. You can create access policies to define their experience when they're logging into these various applications. If you look at the bottom right, we also have the RSA Ready. So the RSA Ready program is where we're in partnership with more than 500 partner integrations. So each of these companies that you see, we've certified their technology to work with SECURID. So if you just go on Google, you type RSA Ready, you'll be able to see the scalability of the number of integrations that we support. So we have guides that are there to help our customers to be able to configure the product. We have screenshots and steps which show you what you need to do on the SECURID side and on the vendor side as well. And then lastly, the enterprise grade credential management. So you can see here it says employee, admin. So this is where we allow you to decide how you protect different levels in your business. So for example, with third parties, so this is actually quite popular a lot of our customers who have contractors tend to choose the SMS option for their contractors because they don't need to purchase any additional hardware. It's just simply adding a mobile number, and then that contractor will be able to receive an OTP when they log into systems. So the SMS option tends to be popular for contractors. So having spoken to you about the solution, I put together 5 user cases today, just to sort of show you, the flexibility of the solution. So, VPN protection is a popular one. So that's been around for quite some time. So whether you're protecting them with, hardware tokens or you're using push to approve, we can offer a variety of different ways of, allowing users to authenticate into VPNs. So, we also support SAML. We also support Radius. So we can fully support that user case. Privileged accounts, so PAM solutions, so solutions like CyberArk, we support those. So we can protect CyberArk, so protecting the password vault, so ensuring that the user is who they say they are before they log into that vault. So we can challenge that user with authentication. So we support that user case as well. Cloud applications, so popular cloud applications like Office 365. So we support that. So we allow you to be able to protect Office 365 so that when users log in, they're challenged. And then, if the authorization is okay, then they'll be allowed access. We also work with other cloud applications, Salesforce, My Workday. So, we support SAML. So we support quite a lot of cloud application integrations out there. Next generation firewalls. So, solutions like, Fortinet, Palo Alto, the next gen firewalls out there, we support those where we're protecting the user interface. So challenging the admin before they make any firewall changes. So that's also a popular user case. Lastly, digital workspaces. So we work quite a lot with digital workspaces. So VMware Workspace ONE is an example. So where we're protecting the front door before the user has access to digital resources. So we can also protect that with authentication. So those are the 5 user cases I've put together just to sort of show you the different flavors and the versatility of the solution, just to show you, we can support the different solutions out there. So having talked to you about, the different user cases and the different aspects of the solution and its offering, it's only fair that I show you the architecture and deployment just so you can see where the solution would sit in an environment. So without further ado, so this is the architecture. So what you're looking at here is the on-prem solution. So it's referred to as the Authentication Manager. The Authentication Manager solution has been around for quite some time. It's known as the on-prem solution. It allows you to protect different network access points in your organization. So whether that's a VPN, whether you're protecting, at domain level. So we have agents that will sit at different entry points. And those agents will challenge users so that users can log in with either a hardware token or software token. So you can see here we have a hardware token, software token on the left, hardware token, software token, or ODA. ODA stands for on-demand authentication. That's when a user will log in with an OTP that they will receive via text or email. So via text or email. So those are the 3 authentication options that come with the Authentication Manager solution. So I'll just repeat that. Software token, a hardware token. So the software token is just a software token application you have on your phone, or you can have it on your desktop. And then you've got the hardware token, which we are all aware of. And then the on-demand. So that's an SMS of the OTP that you receive via text or email. So those are the authentication options. So the Authentication Manager solution supports those authentication options. So when users log into a solution which is protected by Authentication Manager, they will log in with those authenticators. So for example, if a company decide that they want to protect their Windows 10 machines, so what will happen is that they will put agents on those Windows 10 machines. When users log in at domain level, they will log in with a username and they'll log in with a passcode. So the passcode is a combination of a PIN and a token code that they will get from the hardware token, the software token, or they'll receive the OTP. So those are the options. So, the solution supports quite a few different options. So you can also protect VPNs, and we've already spoken about desktops. The Authentication Manager solution also supports Radius. So when the Authentication Manager solution is deployed, Radius is automatically configured and installed. So Radius is a protocol that we support. 2/3 of SECURID integrations are actually Radius-based. So Radius is quite a popular one. The latest version that we have of the Authentication Manager solution at the moment is 8.5. It was released on the 27th of July. So that is the latest version that we have. The Authentication Manager has a few deployment options. So it can be either a hardware appliance, a virtual appliance. You can have it in Azure, and you can have it in AWS. So quite a few options around the deployment. But the story doesn't end there. So with the Cloud Authentication Service, this was introduced in 2016. The Cloud Authentication Service is an RSA hosted service. It is hosted in Microsoft Azure. So the Cloud Authentication Service allows our customers to be able to use single sign-on and the advanced authentication options, which I've been talking about. So on the top left, you can see, the biometrics, the mobile OTP, the SMS and voice call. So the voice call is essentially, we call it robocall, where you receive the OTP over a phone or text. And then we've spoken about wearables. We've spoken about the FIDO. So those advanced authentication options come with the Cloud Authentication Service. So that came in 2016. So the Cloud Authentication Service allowed you as our customers to be able to protect your cloud resources. So, we've spoken about Office 365, we've spoken about ServiceNow, Workday, Salesforce, so the different cloud apps out there that we can protect. The Cloud Authentication Service also comes with an additional component known as the Identity Router. The Identity Router will sit on premise, so it sits in your demilitarized zone. It is a virtual-only appliance, so that's deployed, VMware, Hyper-V, or AWS. So those are the deployment options for the Identity Router that comes with the Cloud Authentication Service. Both solutions can be combined together. So what I mean by that, this is referred to as our hybrid deployment. So if a customer says, we've got Authentication Manager, we're loving it, but you know what, we want to take it a step further. We want to protect Office 365 with your cloud solution, but we also want to keep the Authentication Manager. So what would happen in that instance? The customer would keep the Authentication Manager deployment. We would introduce the cloud aspect. They'll be able to combine the solutions together, and the customer would be able to, for example, log into Office 365 using their hardware tokens that they would have already purchased. So you can combine both the solutions together for the hybrid deployment. And the cloud solution introduces the robust risk engine. So the risk engine is more robust and provides more functionality with the cloud aspect as well. So it's known as the Identity Assurance Platform. So ensuring that users are who they say they are by looking at all those different variables that we talked about earlier as well. So that's more or less the architecture that I wanted to show you today. So I will now cover the license additions. So the license additions for SECURID. So SECURID is sold based on user count. It is sold based on 3 license additions. So the 3 license additions are Base, Enterprise, and Premium. So Base, Enterprise, and Premium. So first, just to make this simple, I will talk about the Authentication Manager aspect, and then I will do the cloud afterwards. So the Authentication Manager aspect. So for Base, if you buy an Authentication Manager solution, you're entitled to 1 Authentication Manager, so the primary, and then you're entitled to a replica. So the replica is for high availability and redundancy purposes. So if something happens to the primary, the replica can be promoted to become the new primary, and then authentication will continue. So you're only allowed 1 main one and 1 replica, so 2 Authentication Manager appliances. And of course, if you purchase hardware tokens or software tokens are on a mobile device. It's an app that you install, or you can have it on your desktop. So that's it for Base, for Authentication Manager specifically. For Enterprise and Premium, for Authentication Manager, you have an additional component known as the Amber solution. So the Amber utility tool. So the Amber utility tool, so you can see there where it says AMBA. So the Amber tool is known as the Authentication Manager Bulk Administration utility tool. It essentially was designed to limit the overhead on admins and help them to be able to perform bulk tasks using the utility tool. So that's only available on Enterprise and Premium. So that's the only, and then of course with Enterprise and Premium, you have more replicas. So you have up to 15, whereas on Base, you have just one. Okay, so Enterprise Premium, up to 15 replicas. And then there's also an option for the Authentication Manager, which is written there. So BCO, Business Continuity. So the Business Continuity option was built to temporarily allow you to be able to enable more users to use the SECURID authentication than what your license normally allows. So, you know, the licenses include a corresponding number of on-demand authenticators. So typically you would activate this license in the event of a disaster or emergency. And I think we have the best example ever, COVID-19. So that caused a major disruption across many businesses and organizations. So, you know, a large number of users now had to work from home. So a lot of our customers, you know, reached out to us for this option to increase, you know, the number of users on their license so that they could also be challenged with authentication. So it's probably worth me mentioning that, you know, this business continuity option wasn't designed because of COVID. It's been around for about 8 years, but, you know, with everything that's happening now, we all have, you know, the same pain caused by COVID-19. So it has become quite popular. So it allows you to, you know, temporarily enable more users to your license than what it would normally allow. And then this license comes with the included on-demand authenticator, so the SMS option. So that's included in the license. So to give you an example of how it works, so you can activate the business continuity option up to 6 times at any time within the 3-year lifetime. So it's a 3-year lifetime license. So for example, if you have 5,000 users and a 2,000 user business continuity option license, so you need an extra 2,000 users added. So you can provide 2,000 additional users with SECURID authentication. So that would then give you a total of 7,000 users, and then that's the 5 that were already there and the 2,000 on-demand authentication options. So during that time, users will be able to log in with the on-demand, so the OTP that they will get via text or via email. Okay. So now that we've spoken about the Authentication Manager solution, let's talk about the cloud solution. So the cloud solution is quite interesting. So on the cloud solution, regardless of whether you're on Base, Enterprise, or Premium, all customers are eligible to request a cloud tenant from us. So we provide you a cloud tenant. You can set up you can set up all your applications. You can connect it with your AEM appliance if you already have that. So all customers are eligible to a cloud tenant, regardless of which license edition they're on with RSA. You just simply have to make the request. So the only additional cost would be the actual advanced authentication options, so the MFA options that we talked about. So that's the only thing that the customers would have to pay for. So that's it for Base. So for Enterprise and Premium, so for the Enterprise with the cloud solution, you have 2 added functionalities. So one, which is trusted location. So it's known as geolocation. So this is where you can set a geographical radius in terms of, you know, where users can access your applications from, you know, where they should be challenged from. We also have trusted networks. So trusted networks is a feature which comes with trusted location that allows you to whitelist IPs in terms of where, you know, IPs that you trust, where users can log in from as well. And then for Premium, the only added part for Premium for cloud is something we refer to as threat-aware authentication. So threat-aware authentication allows you to connect the SECURID solution to a SIM solution, like NetWitness, or it could be NetWitness, you know, or if you have Splunk or QRadar. So connecting the SECURID solution with a SIM allows you to be able to flag high-risk users, and then you can push SECURID to challenge those users. So this happens through the APIs. So that's a premium feature that we now have available for all customers. So in terms of high availability and redundancy for the cloud solution, that's something that's already enabled. So it's not something that you'd have to pay an additional cost for. So the component known as the identity router that we spoke about earlier, that's deployed in clusters of 3, for high availability and redundancy. You can have as many clusters as you want. So it doesn't matter which license you have. That's just something that you can do without cost or anything like that. So that's it in terms of the license additions. So the last thing I forgot to mention was the premium is subscription only. And then with base and enterprise, you can have a perpetual or subscription. But lastly, that's it. That's all I wanted to say for the licensing aspect. So going passwordless, I still have quite a few interesting things to show you. I'm not done yet. So in 2019, in December, I think it was December 10, RSA partnered with YUBIKEY. So we formed a partnership with YUBIKEY to start selling RSA branded YubiKeys. So this partnership started in December 2019. We didn't actually start selling the YubiKeys until March this year. So these YubiKeys are hardware tokens, which a user will plug into their laptop. They'll be, challenged with a PIN. So they'll set a 4-digit PIN, and then they'll have to push the button. So you can see it says the Y on the YubiKey there on the right, the Y. So that little circle there. So that's a button that you would push. So we now support this authentication option, but it's only available for enterprise and premium customers at the moment, and it's predominantly for cloud user cases at the moment. But we are working to allow on-prem functionality, so that is on our roadmap. But at the moment, it's just predominantly for cloud functionality. But this is an added authentication option that we support. RSA is part of the FIDO Alliance, so we do support any FIDO UTF compliant devices. So I just wanted to talk to you about that and how we're moving forward. So I know I've covered a lot today. I know I've gone through quite a few things. So I just put together just a few things for a recap, just to remind you, key takeaways. So we talked about the advanced risk engine. So, it's not just about a user logging in with their username and passcode. The solution has intelligence. It contextualizes user sessions. So looking at various attributes in terms of, what's their role, what browser are they logging in from, what app are they accessing, should they be challenged with additional authentication. So that's the identity assurance and the advanced risk engine. So ensuring that users are really who they say they are. We also spoke about the wide array of authenticators. So the various different options that all our customers have available for them. So that's something that we also spoke about. And then we spoke about the 500 certified partner integrations. So the different companies like Microsoft, Cisco, we've certified their technology to work with SECURID, with the SECURID solution. And then, we spoke about the on-prem and the cloud solution. So, it doesn't take long to deploy. It's a very efficient and seamless solution to deploy and to integrate. So this is a timeline that I always like to show, as it shows you, we're consistently innovating and bringing new things into play. You may have spoken to people that may have said, RSA is prehistoric. RSA is not doing anything new. RSA is an old dog. You can't teach an old dog new tricks. But hopefully after seeing the presentation today and after seeing the various options that RSA have, you can see that we have learned new tricks. We are instantly innovating and bringing new things into play based on the feedback from some of our customers. So bringing forth competitive solutions that can help our customers in this world. Okay. So
right.
Thank you for listening. I'll now just hand over back to Steve.
Thanks, C. Much appreciated. That was quite comprehensive there. So thanks very much. So we've got the opportunity now for everyone to ask some questions, and I always like to put the presenters on the spot. So that includes you today, Dean. So you're not getting off lightly. Okay, a couple of questions that have come in. Maybe fire this one over to you initially, Dean. From Alan. We don't know if we will continue to work from home or not. Is this still best first line of defence? What's your thoughts on that?
Good question, and it is. We thought we'd maybe be back to normal by this point, but it's increasingly not looking like that's coming in anytime soon. But the good thing about identity and access management is that having a solution in play in this space was always best practice. This isn't new, and it should form part of your security arsenal as that first line of defense. In a scenario where a significant portion of your users are working from a secure office location, that there is that question around whether IAM is as important as it might be in a scenario where you've got lots of people working remotely. And I would suggest that potentially you wouldn't want to direct as much of your budget toward this sort of solution as you would in a more geographically disparate scenario. We'd always recommend speaking to somebody like myself and the Servium team to talk about your particular use case. RSA are talking today, but there are many ways to crack a nut. There are lots of solutions out there and lots of different mixes. Having said that, if you were listening toward the end of Z's presentation, that scenario where you've got a business continuity option, maybe you've got that insurance policy for if lots of people are suddenly working from home because of a specific lockdown in an area of the country or in the world, you can execute against that, and you're still okay. You're still secure. You're still employing best practice. I remember back when the business continuity option first materialized, the scenario for me was an organization in the City of London who was trying to give themselves something of an insurance policy against tube strikes. Back then, that seemed pretty major. In the context of 2020, not so much. But hopefully that gives you a flavour as to why this is still important.
Okay, cool. Thanks, Dean. Question here from me, and I think I'll fire this at you first, Dean, and then maybe Z can comment. But how does the RSA approach differ from other solutions in the market, such as Okta, for example?
I'm a fan of Okta. I sort of played around with a sort of siloed demonstration of it as opposed to it being production. But it's as a newer, fresher company, thinking of RSA as the old dog. It's as you expect, very lightweight, easy to use. Quite importantly, it scores quite highly in sort of peer review assessments, and people who purchase Okta tend to be net promoters of the product. The reason why we partner with RSA and why we're putting them in front of you today is because of that pedigree and security, as well as their approach to partnering with people like Servium. But it's also because of the strength of their offerings as they stand today. We can attest to strong global support offerings, where I certainly personally don't have much experience of Okta's support network. But it's also that consistent and continued investment in research and development. Thinking of Z's last slide, this area has come on a long way in the last few years, and it seems like great timing given what we're experiencing at the minute. But I'd always encourage you to conduct a POC, maybe running multiple solutions alongside each other. And there are particular use cases where one or another solution will be right for your particular environment and use case. So again, trying to be as holistic as possible, I'd recommend you speak to Servium, and we can maybe guide you through that process. Okay, cool.
Z, have you got any comments on that as well?
Yep, I do. So in relation to RSA's approach, especially when it comes to other solutions, RSA, as you said it right. It is an old dog, and because of that reason, we have a rather large scalability, especially when it comes to user cases. So RSA supports enterprise-wide user cases for hybrid environments. Okta excels predominantly in the cloud space. So, you know, RSA, especially when it comes to how long we've been in the market, you know, the different use cases and the variety that we offer. But it's not the end of the world. If a customer does have Okta, for example, RSA SECURID can be integrated with Okta, you know, to add a higher and richer risk-based analytics and strong authentication capabilities.
Okay, cool. Great. Well, look, that's a question. Thanks everyone for submitting your questions. What I'm going to do now, just launch the poll just while we sort of summarise, and Dean's going to talk a little bit about the call to action. So, if you wouldn't mind sort of completing the poll, the feedback's really important to us as we fine tune and evolve the whole INOOT season. So, Dean, do you want to talk a little bit about the sort of call to action, because there is an opportunity for people to get engaged, and you can highlight that as well in the poll. So, do you want to just go over that, Dean?
Of course, thanks, Steve. So, number one, this INOOT series is designed to sort of give you enough that the cogs are whirring and you've got some questions. But ultimately, what we want to do is be partners with you, to actually speak to you one-on-one and start to understand around your specific challenges and use cases. So first things first, I'd encourage you to speak to your account manager or to get in touch with the wider team, including myself, because the best place to start with this sort of thing is to have a more holistic discussion around your own architecture, your organization. And we can do a high level security posture review, essentially, look at what's in place at the minute and where these sorts of solutions might fit and whether they're suitable. So that would be number one. I'd encourage you to attend future INOOTs to get some context around this and to augment and put some meat on the bones that we've run through today. So please do continue to support us. We hope you get something out of these, and we rely on you to inform what we're talking about. So please do take the opportunity to tell us what you want to hear about. In terms of specific RSA actions, we can further that conversation by arranging one-to-one calls to go through maybe in a little bit more detail, specifically around architecture and implementation, one-on-one at your convenience. So please get in touch. And that would include existing RSA customers. So maybe you're running an on-premise based or authentication implementation. You might want to look at additional tokens, looking at the cloud and hybrid extension. But again, specific to RSA, there's a rather generous 6-month Secure ID mobile MFA trial that's running at the minute. I think that was a reaction to what's happened this year, but Servium can help you access that so that you can try before you buy, but also gives you maybe a little bit of peace of mind, because we are seeing an increase in things such as ransomware. We are seeing that bomb type ransomware is on the rise. So you may very well have been compromised. There might be something sitting on your network. You don't know about it just yet. And that kind of feeds into the thread that's running through these INOOTs, where we're looking at those disaster recovery scenarios and best practice. So please tune in a couple of weeks' time to hear about what to do when, unfortunately, you inevitably suffer a breach.
Okay, thanks, Dean. So, just for reference, in the poll, questions 6 and 7 relate to the security posture review and also the free of charge POC with RSA. So you can highlight that in there. Yeah, just indicate that in the poll. Any further questions, then just get in touch with your account manager or drop an email to inoot@servium.com, and myself and Dean, account manager, will come back to you. So thanks everyone for taking the time out to join today. Hope you found that useful. Dean, thanks for your first INOOT. Appreciate your support on this. And Z as well, thank you very much for your detailed overview of the solution. So thank you very much for that. So the next INOOT, Dean mentioned it, Friday the 30th of October, 10 o'clock. So myself and Dean will be joined by Veeam, where we're going to be discussing the benefits of their availability suite and why this could form part of your next gen backup DR strategy. So 2 weeks today, there'll be invites coming out shortly, but you can also register via our INOOT hub. We'll send a recording of this later on today, and also it will be published on our YouTube channel in about 10 days' time. So again, a lot of content on YouTube. I'd encourage you to subscribe, Servium Limited. There's a lot of good content there for you to look at. So thank you. Hope you found that useful.